That is so run-centric, and Kyle Shanahan likes to control things. Would that be the best place for him to run around and do Deshaun? What do you make of that?
I mean, I think Deshaun Watson can play in structure. And in fact, I thought he had his best stretch of this season, Colin. And it might have been, I can't remember the exact weeks, but it was about a 6-week period where he actually played more in structure than moving around. And I thought that was his best stretch of this season by far. He certainly can play in structure. And I think that that's the goal. You and I both know that no coach rolls the ball out and says, let's run around and see what happens today. I mean, obviously, there have been times he's played not behind a great O-line, although I think the O-line got better. I think he's always walked a very fine line between playing within structure and leaving the pocket prematurely. I think he walks that line. I think because he's so good playing off schedule that he can make plays and compensate for that at times, but I don't think he has a problem playing within structure if the structure works.
All right, then San Francisco would work. You know, Matt Stafford's interesting. I read a story this morning, a third of the NFL is interested in Matt Stafford, and it's like 12 years, 4 winning seasons. Now, I'm not saying it's ideal in Cleveland, but Andrew Luck went 11-5, 11-5, 11-5 with no Pro Bowlers. Deshaun Watson's winning in chaos. Carson Wentz won a division with chaos. There is a point. If Case Keenum could win that division, if Trubisky could get to the playoffs twice, if Teddy Bridgewater can win, I do look at that and I think to myself, Greg, I've seen NBA guys who have, quote, talent, and they can never win a playoff series. Like, what is it with Stafford? Is it just incompetency above? Does he do something that is problematic toward winning more games?
I don't think so at all. And I think, again, it gets into that whole debate about the quarterback and the many, many other variables that lead to winning. I personally believe Matthew Stafford has special talents. And I think we've seen his physical tools over the years. I think we've seen his toughness and competitiveness over the years. So I really like Stafford based on tape study. That's all I'm responding to, based on tape study. And I've heard he's a very smart player. So I think Matthew Stafford, see, to me, and I don't know how you feel about this, Colin, we know the way NFL teams hoard draft choices. But if it's between drafting Wilson from BYU and trading for Matthew Stafford, I'm trading for Matthew Stafford in a heartbeat because I've seen him play at the NFL level at a really high level. I don't know about Wilson or Justin Fields. I don't know what they're going to do in the NFL.
Good stuff. All right, I want to ask you about this. Aaron Rodgers, a lot of people were upset with Matt LaFleur. And then, and I said, listen, inside the 10-yard line, Green Bay was 2 for 9, 1 for 7 going to Devontae Adams. Aaron also had an opportunity to run. He didn't. So when you looked at it, we can blame. Sure. He got 3 interceptions from his defense in the second half. 2 times he was 3 and out.
Right.
So is Aaron culpable at all for the loss? How did he play? What did the film say, especially in the red zone or down inside the 10?
Well, obviously they called pass plays and they threw it to Devontae Adams, which they've done all year, and people have said, "Boy, that's great." And then when it doesn't work in the NFC Championship game, people say, "Well, that's a bad idea." So I guess which way do you want to have it? I mean, he threw it to Devontae Adams on one that Adams normally would make that catch. So, again, these are access to the result statements, as you know, Colin, and that's what we do. We talk about this after it happens, and because it doesn't happen, we say it's bad. But all year long, he's thrown the ball to Devontae Adams in the red zone, and they've been very, very good in the red zone. This time, it didn't work. So does that mean that it's Matt LaFleur's fault? I really struggle with that kind of analysis. And again, that play where everybody thought Rodgers could walk in, we don't know that. And he obviously didn't think he could because he tried to make a very difficult throw. Yeah. So I'll defer to Aaron Rodgers on that and his belief that he felt that throw, which was difficult, had a greater likelihood of succeeding than him running. But I think you can't say that, well, gee, they threw it to Devontae Adams too much. That's what they've done all year, and they were successful doing it. I had Tom House on the other day. He has been Tom Brady's personal throwing coach. A lot of guys.
And Tom's a wonderful guy, and he's had a lot of these guys. And I asked him, he had responded to me on social media when I said, I'm tired of hearing about Brady's arm being an issue. I think he threw...
Not at all.
I thought his velocity against the Green Bay was, like, at times too fast for Tyler Johnson. Go back 10 years. I mean, it's really funny. I said if I didn't know who Tom Brady was and I watched him, I wouldn't think he's 43. I would just say, there's a kind of a pocket quarterback guy. But you're watching him Sunday. What did you see?
Oh, I didn't think Brady played real well by any means. But if you're just talking about his physical traits, I don't think there's a drop-off in his traits at all. And actually, that game started out with them converting 3 third and longs on the first series of the game, and that in some way set the tone for the game. But there's nothing wrong with his arm. Brady is about repetitive mechanics. He's always been about that. And see, quarterbacks that don't move, and there's this belief now that the Tom Bradys of the world, there won't be many of those guys coming into the NFL, that you need to have second reaction off schedule ability. But here's the difference. And it's funny, we started with Deshaun Watson, and he's a great player. That's not my point. Now we're just talking about quarterback play. Is Deshaun Watson will leave throws on the field because he leaves the pocket too early. He'll compensate at times and camouflage for that because he can then make outside of structure plays. Brady stays in the pocket and therefore gets to throws and makes throws that Deshaun Watson won't get to. So now you have to decide, what do you view as more important? Or maybe one isn't as important. It's just the way it is. But quarterbacks like Brady, they stay in the pocket and they deliver the football. And because he's not looking to run, he doesn't have that parachute.
So when I watched the Bills in Kansas City, you give me the answer to the question. It was, were the Bills too Josh Allen dependent, or is the Kansas City Chiefs defense really, really underrated? Because Buffalo was on the bad side of a 38-6 run in that football game.
Well, I think that there's a couple of things about Steve Spagnuolo's defense that it's overlooked because of Patrick Mahomes. Number one, they're a high-pressure defense. They blitz a lot. Number two, they play more man coverage than people think, and they play it well with corners that not a lot of people know about. Ward on one side, Breeland on the other. They don't match up. They've gotten a really good year from the rookie Snead. So they play a lot more man coverage than people think. But they're also very multiple with their coverage concepts, and they play a lot of zone concepts, and Tyrann Mathieu is the reason they can do all that because he's so good. So what you saw was really sticky, to use Tony Romo's word, sticky man coverage. And Josh Allen did miss some throws in this game. There were a couple of times where they got him, too. They baited him into some throws where they showed something pre-snap and then disguised in late movement, and that's tough. It's tough for every quarterback. But they're high-pressure defense, and I'm sure Spags believes he can be high-pressure because his feeling is, so what if I give one up? My guy's going to put up 35. Who cares?
I mean, that's so true.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Yeah. All right. Your big play is some Patrick Mahomes, and we always want to see that.
Well, we're going to do a little tutorial here, Colin, of an RPO, because we've reached the point where every time there's a fake handoff in the backfield in the shotgun, the announcer tells us it's an RPO, and that's not the case. So let's take a look at the Tyreek Hill 71-yard play from that game, the AFC Championship game against Buffalo. And here it is. And obviously this was a killer for Buffalo. It's a 6-yard pass, and it becomes a 71-yard gain because of Hill's dynamic run after catch ability. But this was a true RPO. And the way you can tell that is with the offensive line. Look at the offensive line, the right side of their line and the back Williams. The right side of their line, starting with the offensive center, they're going to run block. And you can see that clearly. They are run blocking. And Williams clearly in the backfield makes it look like he's taking a sweep to that side. So there you get the run part of the RPO. Now, when you switch to the other side of the offensive line, the left tackle and the left guard, what they do, Colin, is they pass protect. So you get one side run blocking, you get the other side pass protecting. So now that's the RPO concept. So it's not just that there's a fake handoff in the backfield. So now what we'll do is we'll switch angles. Okay, and now you're going to see Mahomes obviously in the gun. Now the pass part of this, besides the pass protection, is Tyreek Hill in the slot is going to run a quick slant. So how does Patrick Mahomes decide what he's going to do? He reads the linebacker, Tremaine Edmonds, who's right in front of him in his vision. And as he takes the snap and he sees Edmonds immediately move to his left, he knows that the passing lane to Hill on the slant is there. So that is a true run-pass option with the offensive line both run blocking and pass protecting. Patrick Mahomes reading the Mike linebacker who tells him where to throw the football.
All got smarter. Good stuff, Greg Cosell. We will talk soon, Greg. Thanks again on a Thursday.
All right, Colin, appreciate it. Thanks.
Peter Schrager stops by the very